Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
Hey everybody, it's Tuesday night, which means it's another live Wicked Horror Show. I'm Kevin, and as always, I'm joined. Actually, Tony's not here this week. He's sick. So I have a guest co-host this week, one of my oldest friends going back to the 90s. We have Dynamo Mars. You're a little choppy, but we'll still add you. What's going on, Mike? Mars, can you hear me? I think that's a no on Mars.
Hello.
Oh, there you are. There. Oh, yes,
What?
yes. No, it was you were very frozen. But anyways, we have a very, very special guest welcoming back to the show. Director, cinematographer, writer. I don't know if you've acted, but we'll find out. We have Mike Neel, the great old one.
Yes, absolutely. Well, 46, but old enough. Well, thank you. I have acted.
You have
numerous times.
Nice. So you are the youngest one here. That's all I got to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not true, my friends.
It's kind of true. You were already at high school when I started hanging out with you.
years old in just a couple of days.
Oh, nice.
Well, I was like Doogie Howser. Yeah.
That's a lie, by the way. So anyways, yeah, Tony Has Nine Fingers is usually my co-host, but he is sick this week, so he couldn't come on. So get well, Tony. And your ever-expanding TikTok community. If there's anyone watching from the TikTok community, he'll be back next week. He's got like 20-something thousand subscribers on TikTok. And all he does is talk about movies. That's all he does. But anyways, so Mike Neel, we had you on in the past for Drive-in Horrorshow. And some other stuff as well. You have a new project that's going to be coming out soon. It's not out yet. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Like, what's it called and what can you say? I know we can't say too much about it because we don't want to ruin it. But yeah. Mike disappeared again.
I think that's going to be a theme this time. Well, it's amazing. That mustache and eyebrows.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So we've adapted as far as we're concerned. And when I say we, Joe Lemieux, the producer, and I'm the director, so I get all the credit, but we basically did it together. We've adapted the first Dream Cycle story from H.P. Lovecraft. We're fairly confident we're the first. We can't find anyone else. There's a Dreamlands feature that's been in the works for years, which sounds really cool. But yeah, we adapted Celephaïs, which is one of his lesser-known stories. And it's so for those of you that don't know what the Dreamlands are, or the Dream Cycle, so there's the big Lovecraft world, Cthulhu and the cultists and Shoggoths and all that stuff. And then there's the Dreamlands, which is kind of like his Alice in Wonderland realm of his world. It's a place where dreamers set off to find things, to go on quests, or to find lost dreams, or all this kind of stuff. And what's interesting is that it's not as much of a focus as the rest of his world, including among a lot of Lovecraft fans. A lot of them don't care for the Dream Cycle much, or just are kind of fine with it, but not like crazy about it. But what's interesting is that it actually has the foundation of all of his mythology, like all of the really powerful great old ones and elder beings and all that all live there. The center of all of his chaos is actually right in the Dreamland. So it's tied to all of his horror. And what I like about it is that it has, I'm a Lovecraft nut overall, but the Dreamland has a sense of kind of innocence to it and a very childlike quality that is present in some of the rest of his writing, but not really. It's really focused on in this, in these stories, and in Celephaïs especially. So, we're just super psyched to put it up there. It's short. The story is only 7 pages, so the film is 34 minutes.
Yeah.
We originally thought, well, should we make a feature? It's like, how? Like there's 7 pages of this thing. Like we'd have to invent, I don't know, 60 pages and all this other stuff from the rest of the Dreamland stories, or who knows what. It's like, let's just make it as long as it needs to be. The script is 20 pages. The film is 34 minutes. Just kind of let it just exist. And that's kind of where we ended up.
Nice. And it's got a really good mix of, visual effects, like kind of, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of practical stuff in there. I don't want to give too much. Obviously, I don't want to give too much away, but you hinted around that, there's other parts of Lovecraft that kind of, poke its head, So you do kind of get a hint of that. And I know you don't want to say too much about it, but like, how much can we say as far as like characters or maybe like who's in it or any of that stuff? Because we want people to see it.
Right.
It's by the way, when is it coming out? Like, when is it going to be available for everyone?
Sure. So it has the world premiere at the Massachusetts Independent Film Festival a week from Saturday, actually.
Nice.
In the horror block. For anyone who either can't make it or doesn't live close, we're doing other festivals and screenings over the year, but eventually we're going to have a Blu-ray, a special Blu-ray with like including a copy of the story in it.
Oh, nice.
And like a ton of commentary tracks, in part because we want to, and in part like I feel bad charging anyone any reasonable amount of money for a 34-minute film. I don't care how big a fan they are, if they like it. Like 34 minutes, man, come on. So, and also we'll have it on VOD, like cheaply, like for $1 or $1.50 or something.
Nice.
Like
well, it's shot very well. It's acted very well, and I don't know. I mean, yeah, you got a style to you, and I enjoy it.
Well, thank you.
While we have Mars here, Mars, did you have anything before we lose you again?
I think what I enjoy, I don't even know what it is. I used to do this for a job. I think that I actually really.
Well, you actually really goodbye. Yeah. Just while we're waiting for him to come back, Sergio's in the chat room saying, "What's up, Michael?"
What's up, Sergio?
And so we have he always asks for trailers. So we don't have a trailer for this one because it's a short film, but we do have a couple trailers that we want to play a little bit later for some of his previous stuff. And one of them, I know Drive-in Horrorshow, that full movie is available on YouTube, right?
Yeah, they're both out actually.
Okay.
Yeah, the Drive-in Horrorshow is out on YouTube. It's also out on VOD. It's always at random places. If there's a family video around, I don't know if they ever exist. They carried it for a while. And
then you can just come to my house and borrow it. I have it on DVD.
There you go. Hold on to it. They're out of print now.
Really?
Oh, sure. I think I have one. I have one. I don't know if I have any more.
I'm pretty sure I bought it right from you. But yeah, Mars is falling apart over here.
Yeah.
His mustache is falling off. Oh, Mars, your mustache. I mentioned we mentioned Bill before we went live and about how
I think my reason.
Huh? What did you say?
Blue. I have no clue what's happening at all.
Okay.
I don't know what's happening.
It's I don't know either. What browser are you on, Mars?
So whatever it connected, I'm gonna say Safari.
Do you have Chrome on there?
I could try it.
Okay, yeah. Bounce out and try Chrome, because I know it doesn't play nice with Safari. Because why would it? We pay for it and everything. But anyways, yeah, bounce out and come back on Chrome. So anyways, and again, we have Jamie Hill in the chat room. She's in the movie Skinamarink. I don't know if you got to see Skinamarink. Yeah,
I haven't yet, and I'm super excited. And I apologize, Jamie. I've been busy with Celephaïs. You know how this goes. But
yeah. But she's the mom in Skinamarink. So what's up, Jamie? Good to see you again. And we have Joe. Vial of Blood is worth checking out too. Oh, that's your producer, right?
Yeah, that's the other half of the guy that made this movie.
Nice.
So everything that like I said, I'm getting credit for. He deserves half of it.
Yeah.
And not to mention everyone else that actually made the movie. We get credit for everybody else's contributions.
Yeah.
I realized I never answered you what we can and can't talk about.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about this. So we've tried to make it so that for fans of the Dream Cycle and Lovecraft, we don't spoil anything because it's super nerdy as far as Easter eggs and Lovecrafty stuff and all that goes. We can talk about the star that we revealed through Rue Morgue. We can talk about where we filmed it. We can talk about, oh God, give me a second here. Other people involved in it, I guess, like overall themes. I mean, the story of filming it, there actually is a lot around here. And also, like you said, too, all the special effects and visual effects are all practical, everything. So, that there's that part of it too, I guess. I mean, I'm throwing you very, very small bits of things we can do.
No, there's some stuff there because the special guest that was announced through Rue Morgue, I am a gigantic fan of. And, I was very happy and surprised to see that. And I have questions just when it comes to that, because it's like, how did that happen?
Sure.
So in the Rue Morgue article, it was shown and there's photos and stuff. And the article is linked in the show notes and everything. But you got Tony Todd to be in this movie.
Yes. So a really good friend of mine, Jessica Dwyer, Mike, you're not skipping.
I'm on my phone.
Okay, that's fine. No, it looks good.
Yeah, you look great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Nice.
Except for that mustache, you gotta have that fixed. Have that taken in.
I need a mustachio.
I love it. It looks kind of like you have the same mustache cut in two on your eyes.
No comment.
You had a goatee when before we went live, and that disappeared.
It fell down my shirt and is working its way down my jeans right now. I'm not sure.
Oh, you'll be kicking it out of the bottom of your pant leg at some point.
I didn't buy it a drink or anything. So.
Oh, nice. So we were just talking, Mike, about Mars. Sorry, there's two Mikes here, so I'm going to have to remember to call. I've called Mike Mike my whole life, so it's always weird to call him Mars.
That's actually how I know Mike and his awesome family, actually, not, being maybe an exception to that rule, but that's how I generally know how long I've known somebody by if they call me Mike or Mars. I mean, even my dad calls me Mars, but
really,
or Dynamo. Yeah. Well, there's my.
Well, they're both really cool names. Dynamo and Mars are both pretty awesome. You're gonna end up eating that thing by the end of the show.
I hope it's delicious. It's made out of licorice.
It's made out of black licorice, though. Ooh.
Oh no!
The worst of all the licorices.
My sister's all married Michaels. It's like if you say Michael at like Thanksgiving, 100 people turn around. So my dad just gave up.
Yeah. So you have two really cool nicknames. You have Mars and you have Dynamo, and I have Kevin. But anyways, before you disappeared multiple times, we were talking about the Rue Morgue article, which is there's a link to it in the show notes. That's pretty big too, just the Rue Morgue thing alone. But the fact that they were talking about that you got Tony Todd to be in this movie, that is fantastic. And I've interacted with Tony multiple times, and he's one of the people that I am always extremely excited to see again because he's so nice. How did that all come to be? Like, how did you get Tony involved?
Sure. So we needed an extra part for the film. Mike, like Kevin and I were talking about, we're being as vague as we can. We can't say anything specific, but Tony's something we can think about. So last year, right around now, actually, we were kind of near the end of post-production. We still had a ton of special effects to do, but the film was almost done. And we reached out to our friend Jessica Dwyer, who's a writer for Horror Hounds. She's doing on-set visits for Joe Blow. Like, she's interviewing Nick Cage at the premiere of Renfield. Like,
oh, that's awesome. That's cool.
Yeah, she's amazing. And so Joe and I, who both know her, we reached out and said, well, can you get us a celebrity maybe? And he was on the list. And so she ended up getting us for him. It was amazing. Getting him for us, excuse me. I've been animating all day, so my brain's a little messy. But anyway, so we went out to record him, and it was like, it's funny. I mean, you guys have done conventions forever. I don't get starstruck that much. I've been around so many celebrities, but like when he walked in the door, for one thing, I'm 6'2", and I'm looking up at him. Joe is
a giant.
Yeah,
he's huge, and like I was on cloud 9 the entire time. Like, he was such a wonderful collaborator. He approached the part so well. We really worked it out together. It was just a joy. It's like, and it made me afterwards, it made me think like, I want to direct every one of my heroes. Cause I saw Candyman when I was 17.
Yep.
And like, it terrified me. And I'd seen tons of horror movies at that point. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Another movie, slasher, whatever. And like, I mean, I was absolutely terrified and moved. And, the movie is just incredible. And he's so wonderful. And that voice in particular. So, we just bonded over the performance. Like, when I was a kid, I wanted to be an actor. So I've always wanted to, so I don't act anymore. So the closest I get is all that time that I spent in elementary school and high school and even the beginning of college acting. So being able to connect with someone like Tony, who's like such a professional actor, is just being able to speak that language is just such a treat. Cause like here I have access to this awesome guy for a few hours. And we're in a recording studio in LA. And actually, so when we were getting ready, the engineer, his name's Yuri Gelman, is this amazing engineer. He has all this cool vintage stuff around everywhere. Like
is he the guy that bent spoons in the 60s?
That's Yuri Geller.
Oh,
I thought he was. Well, maybe not. I don't know.
Did he tell you that in the studio? He's like, all right, take one. I bent spoons and go. Yeah.
I did notice a whole wall of spoons there. Now that I mentioned that.
Like, he's just doing this constantly with spoons. He's like a pile of spoons.
They're just on plaques that says like Donahue.
Yeah, Donahue. Yeah. Just real quick before, I don't want to interrupt you too much, but so Joe's saying that Tony and him spoke Klingon together since he played Worf's brother, Kern, which is awesome. Jamie Hill and Mike, you were technical difficulties when she popped in before. She loves Tony, by the way, but she's from the movie Skinamarink.
Nice.
She's awesome, and that movie is a good time. It's very different. And then you pointed out that you're like 6'2", and that he's so tall. She's only 5'3", so you would be like stepped on. And she's also saying that Candyman was top 5 for her, and I agree. So like whenever I go through like a big life change, like a change in job or something like that, I like without fail have nightmares that I'm meeting people and they're shooting bees out of their mouth, and it's because of Candyman. And I have other Tony Todd stories about how genuine and just cool as hell that he is. Yeah. There's one that I feel very dumb about. I've told it on multiple podcasts, and most people think I'm an idiot. But whatever. Continue with your Tony Todd story, please.
Of course.
Yeah.
So our engineer's getting everything set up, and he has all this cool vintage stuff all over the place, recording gear. And he says, I want to tell you guys a story. He said years ago, when Whitney Houston was recording her first album that became a hit, the engineer was recording her and he rented this microphone, and he said it just sounded amazing. So when she came back, he rented it again. And when he went to plug it in, it didn't sound right. And he called up the rental place, said, I wanted the same microphone. They said, it is the same microphone. He said, no, the same serial number, like the actual microphone. His ears were that good that he could tell this.
Yeah.
And he said, and from then on, it became the Whitney. That's the only microphone she ever used. And then he picks up a microphone and says, this is the Whitney. This is one of our choices for today. This is the Streisand. It's the same story with Barbara Streisand. So which one do you want? And we're like, okay, this is already amazing, but holy crap. And then of course we tell Tony that, and there's the 2 microphones sitting up there, and we end up going with the Streisand, which to add all this other crazy awesome stuff that happened with this movie, like we have a connection to Barbara Streisand with her official microphone and the Candyman.
Candyman and Barbara Streisand together at last. Yeah.
I can just imagine Tony being totally underwhelmed by that.
I don't know.
Neither one of them has a single bee inside
them.
That's true.
So just real quick, meeting him at cons and stuff like that over the years, I got to know him pretty well. I've interviewed him a bunch of times at cons, and there was one time, this was years ago, that I mentioned to him that me and my wife like to go to plays from time to time. He was in a play in Hartford, and he remembered that I like plays, and he reached out and had tickets waiting for me. I went to the play. I was absolutely blown away. And then when I left, he was waiting for me in the lobby. And he's like, oh, how'd you like it? And we're talking about it a little bit and, whatever. He's like, so what are you doing now? And I'm like, in my mind, I'm just like, is he asking me to hang out? Like, but like, I'm so scared that I'm going to just say something very dumb and just like never be able to associate with him ever again. I'm like, I got to go to work tomorrow. And I just turned around and left. But I don't know. Then I saw him after that. And I'm like, you have no idea how much that meant to me. He's like, oh, no, you have no idea how much it meant to me. I'm like, no. You're Tony Todd, and you've affected me. And the fact that you even remembered that I like plays, first of all, and then second of all, thought to invite us, it's crazy. But he's a great dude. If you ever get a chance to meet him at a con, anyone who's listening or watching, definitely do it. He's such a down-to-earth dude. I heard him flip out on a dude from The Sopranos. Oh, was it from The Sopranos? He flipped out on a dude from, I think it was Ralph Macchio. He flipped out on about
He's
The Sopranos.
not from The Sopranos.
I know that, but he took a booth from a guy from The Sopranos that was also in, like, you know, a bunch of other mobster stuff. He's like, what the hell do you think you're doing? He's like yelling at him before the show started. And he's like, get your ass back to where you need to be. He's like, a legend's going to be there. And he's just like, okay. And he listened to him. It was great. But you don't want to mess with Tony Todd. He's a great dude. I was super happy to see that was the case. So that's huge.
I watched Dancing with him at Rock and Shock.
Watch what?
I watched Dancing with Tony Todd at Rock and Shock.
Danzig?
Danzig. Yeah, no, Danzig is a hardcore wrestler. Danzig is
I thought dancing was just a really weird way to say dancing.
Yeah,
Watch Danzig.
Yeah, we were dancing with the stars.
Yeah, Danzig with the stars.
At Rock and Shock, we sat in that death balcony and watched Glenn do his angry midget thing.
Yeah, cool.
And we also watched, I forget their name. That band that like is always saying that Slipknot ripped them off.
Paco?
No.
No, that was my band. First time I met Tony Todd, I was at a pool cigar bar behind the DCU Center during Rock and Shock. I gave him one of my Misfits pins for my punk rock jacket because he asked if he could have it. I would just give him the jacket.
Yeah,
personally.
give him the whole thing.
He just puts it on. He's like, look I'm a giant man in a tiny coat, you know, but I miss Rock and Shock too. I really wish that was still a thing, but you know.
At least Tony asked. Sid Haig would just come behind the Deadites thing.
Yeah, and take
like
stuff.
It was like shopping. Oh, yeah. I'm gonna grab me some of that Deadites hoodie swag.
Yeah. Well, he's Sid Haig.
That's what I said. I said he can take it.
Yeah, exactly. But so going back on the subject of the movie, Tony Todd's in it, obviously. Is there anything else you can give hint to without giving too much away?
Sure. So there's actually the story of how we chose this. So in the fall of 2019, Joe and I had written a bunch of short films that were going to be done, intended for Facebook and social media, actually, 2 to 3 minutes, called 3-minute shock tales. We did one called It's Me Ma that played at Shawn O'Shea and was supposed to come out right around the middle of the pandemic lockdown, and that didn't end up happening. So it will come out eventually. But regardless, our plan was to make a short film to be made for social media. And then, you know, we're thinking, well, the only thing is we don't have a star. You need a star for a film, and we can't afford a star, but Lovecraft is free. I mean, at least half of this stuff. Half of it is tied up in potential issues with Arkham House Publishing that I don't really want to get involved in because I can't afford a lawyer to do it. So I'm like, screw it, we'll just avoid all that stuff. Let's see what's in the first half. So I'm going through and I'm like, can't do this, can't do this, can't do this, can't do this. Celephaïs, maybe we could do this. Because the thing is, like, the story of Celephaïs has like giant flying pink unicorns and, you know, this huge, it looks like or like something from Arabian Nights, or like all these big lush castles like Aladdin and stuff. And of course we can't do that, but I'm thinking like, well, maybe we could film at Hammond Castle, like, and have a castle, and kind of, you know, once we looked at it that way, it's like, okay, we can take these story beats and pull them out and still focus on them, and then take some, like, one of the great things about the story is it's somewhat vague. Like, the story, it involves Kuranis. He's a man who has this amazing dream when he's 7, and then becomes an obsessive dreamer trying to find it again, like intentionally dreaming. And this is a common character in Lovecraft's dream cycle stories, these people that call themselves dreamers, that basically dedicate their lives to falling asleep and going on quests, like whether they're looking for, you know, their home, or like one of them's looking for a void that he wants to get to so he can just exist in nothingness, which is kind of awesome.
Sounds like a good time, honestly. There's some days I really wish I could be in the void. Yeah.
Right. That's what I call my writing career.
Oh.
It's a surprisingly satisfying story. But yeah, so but the story leaves a lot of room for interpretation or for taking small bits and extrapolating them and making larger parts out of it. So that's kind of what we did. And we were able to be more faithful than I think we thought we could. We were able to take entire sections of dialogue from the story and put them in the movie. Like, we had to cut them up in various places. Like, there are things from Lovecraft in general that are in there that are like literal and verified by other people in the community. So we really wanted to do this so anybody can enjoy it, but especially Lovecraft fans and Dream Cycle fans, but Lovecraft fans in general be like, oh my God, I know what that is. You know, and yet the great thing about Lovecraft is that it's kind of like the ultimate fan fiction. You know, you're just allowed to take it and do what you want with it. Right. So, you know, we feel like a sense of responsibility to do it right. You know, but at the same time, we feel like, you know, like we gender swapped a bunch of stuff. Like, you know, like Sylvia's in it, Sylvia Graziano, and the original part was written for a man. And I'm like, well, let's just switch it. Why not? It doesn't matter. It's not like we're trying to be intentionally, you know, like manipulative or anything, but, you know, he wrote in a time where all the parts were for guys.
Right.
So it doesn't, you know, impact anything. So why not? Plus Sylvia's amazing. And she was
incredible.
Yeah, she's unbelievable. So the other thing too was, one of the big challenges was that, you know, it's a series of dreams and nightmares. So how are we going to do this? Well, if we plan everything right, so that when the character enters a nightmare or dream and then leaves to the next one, and it seems like he's going in like fluidly from one to the other, whether he's walking in the same direction or we do like an edit somehow, that'll make it seem magical. But what if we film in different places at different seasons and cut them together?
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, he goes from like, you know, like cold November with all the leaves off the trees to like beautiful October, you know, with, you know, pretty leaves and, you know, pine needles on the ground and stuff. So, so that was part of the idea, is like, well, what can we do? You know, when you're making a film, and especially we did for tiny budget, you always have your planning and your time. And we figured, well, we actually didn't have much time. I say we have time, but we really didn't. We wrote it in a week in August in 2019. We were filming by October. And we also wrote a film where we had to have someone who looked like my son, who was in his 70s, and also had to have a castle. We wrote it and started rolling without actually having a castle in New England. I was like, well, must be a castle somewhere. So, you know, screw it, let's just start filming.
We'll find a castle.
Yeah.
Stumble upon one. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But, you know, it's 20 plus little scenes, 27, I think. So the real challenge was scheduling everything in time. You know, like there'd be times where we'd schedule people and I wouldn't know location until 3 days ahead, but this is the only time everyone could do it, you know? And we had people donating their time, like Bill Fulkerson and Kyle Kuchta. I never say his name right. I'm sorry, Kyle, I apologize. Bill's from Outside the Cinema and Kyle's like from The Woodsman, and they're great dudes. They shot the first half of it pretty much for free and parts of the other half. You know, just went out and did it. And, you know, like with Joe and I, this one shoot we did, it was 2 actors and Joe and I with the camera. There was no sound. It was no sync sound. And that was it. We just went out and filmed. No permits. I mean, it's when people see the film, we can talk more specifically about why there were no permits. But it worked out fine. But yeah, the big challenge was really, you know, just organizing. And there were no shots that were actually that difficult. There's one shoot that was really hard. And it was just because shoots are hard sometimes. You know, like audio was difficult. One of the pieces of gear didn't work. There were people in the background that weren't supposed to be there. You know, stuff like that, stuff that always happens. But for none of any of our special effects or puppets or miniatures and that stuff, nope, those all worked fine, which is usually the opposite. So I'm very, very, very thankful.
Well, that's all stuff that I don't know about because I haven't made a movie and I've been cut out of a bad one. And so that says a lot. Life is Pain is in the chat saying that he's super late and he'll start it over again once it's finished. That's okay. He'll be fine. So I was also, just one thing, I was panicking beyond all belief because I was trying to find it to see if you had a trailer for it. And I saw the actual artwork from the cover or from the poster on YouTube. I was like, what? I'm like, someone put this up on YouTube, and it's someone reading a story, like with that artwork in the background.
Are
Yeah.
they reading the story?
Yeah, with
Oh,
with that. Yeah. So if you just do a search for that, it'll come up. So I was just like, oh,
amazing.
yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, it's not even out yet, and they're already using your artwork.
That's so flattering. It's like, I learned long ago after Drive-in Horrorshow came out and got pirated like crazy and gutted our sales that, like, A, you can't stop people from doing stuff, but B, if people pick up something and start doing it on their own, that's the ultimate compliment. So the fact that they thought that was worthy of putting in the background a couple days after it came out, excellent. I think that's awesome. Plus, they picked a great story, so good for you.
Yeah. So that's the one thing, like with Jamie, that's in the chat from Skinamarink, that movie was pirated like crazy as well before it got like any kind of release, and it still did so good, like in the theaters. So it's like,
didn't it affect its release? Right? It made them push up
like
the release because
I
it was.
think so. Yeah, I think so.
They
but now it's on
theoretically were hemmorrhaging.
Yeah,
they were getting great attention because of it, but I found out very recently that won't. Plumbers don't take attention. I can't pay my mortgage in attention. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sergio's saying hi to Mars, by the way. What's up, Serge? So with that, I know that we really can't say too much. You've already spoken a lot about it. I don't know if there's anything more you want to say without, us like digging a little bit too much. But you have some other stuff as well. We had you on for Drive-in Horrorshow, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Yeah, it's a really good time. And we have the what is the other one called? You have a couple of different stuff out there, but I grabbed the trailer for Infinite Santa 8000, which is like animated. So did you? Yeah, did you do all the artwork for that as well, or is that did you just do the animation part?
So I actually have some good news about that before I say. Keep your eyes out this year for more Infinite Santa news. Oh. So as I started to speak, I can't remember how much I'm supposed to say, but there is exciting stuff for Infinite Santa coming. But that aside, so yeah, I was one of the animators. Basically, Greg Anson, who also co-created Drive-in Horrorshow with me. Again, I'm the director, the producer, so everyone always gives me the credit, but we did it together. For Infinite Santa, we animated it, but neither of us can draw. So we got artists who were way better than us to give us art, but then we brought it into After Effects, which is a computer animation program. Right. And what's really cool is that it still looks hand-drawn because we scanned it at really high res, but then we can move it like a marionette. So let's say, for example, you want someone to move their hand or their arm, you put it here, and then a second later, you say it's going to be here, and the computer draws everything in between. And then you can use digital lights and basically the same techniques they used to use on like Disney and stuff with the different planes moving and focus and glass and stuff. I've studied all that stuff forever, so I know what it's supposed to look like because I've always loved animation. I'm a huge movie nerd. So we kind of just figured it out, and we would just accumulate all this awesome art from people and then animate it. So for the movie, it was 2,500 shots from two of us with Joe. Joe's who's still in the chat. He helped on part of that too. We did a lot of the art actually and some of the animation, but nice. For the most part, it was the two of us. And I'm never doing it again. I loved it, but that was absolutely hell.
That's plenty.
Yeah.
So that kind of gives us a hint that you said there may be some news coming. I guess it's not a new one, unless it's done in a different way. I don't know.
No, it's I kind of wish I'd talked to Greg before this because
I'm sorry. I'll shut up.
I honestly can't remember. So
okay, that's okay. I'll shut up.
It's all good.
But you know what we can do is we can play the trailer for it. It's only just about a minute long, so we'll be right back in about a minute. Here's the trailer for Infinite Santa 8000.
This Christmas, see Santa as you've never seen him before. Santa's got a brand new bag of kicking ass in a world where everyone must kill to survive, even Santa. Complete chaotic fun. A badass who lets his bullets decide who's naughty and who's nice. Santa is one bad dude who's ready to save Christmas.
There you go.
Love it.
That still makes me laugh. I mean, I'm the one who added those ridiculous explosions. Maybe Greg did, I don't know. But it's, it is what it is, and I love it. So proud of it.
Yeah. No, it's something to be proud of. I'm sure it took a pretty long time to get that all together. Yeah. But so you were saying that you had some other stories. What else would you like to share from the new movie?
Sure. So, a couple things. So, like I said, when Joe and I were trying to figure out what we could do, we said we couldn't afford a star, but Lovecraft's a star and he's free. Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons that appealed to us, because people do a lot of Lovecraft adaptations, in part for the reason we said, which is wonderful. People should do whatever they want. I think it's great. In our case, we realized, wait a minute, we live here. And I've always said that if you want to make a movie, write it to where you live. If you live in a wharf somewhere, write a movie that takes place on a wharf. If you live near a volcano, write something near a volcano, whatever. But we live in all the places that Lovecraft used for inspiration as locations. So we're like, well, if we write this in a certain way, we can actually go and film on all these places that are either from the story or feel like they're from the story.
Yeah.
And have like instant atmosphere. And I think it's by far our greatest asset. Because we filmed a lot of stuff up in the areas that Innismith was based on, the show over Innismith, like the North Shore, Gloucester, Salem, Marblehead, Rockport. We filmed at on the Blackstone River, which is where he used to go to meditate, which is really cool. And it also helped us when we had that focus, because Joe and I are really passionate New England filmmakers anyway. Like, we love where we live. We love the community of filmmakers and fans and all that, of course. Once we realized that was our goal, because we really didn't have much else to go on financially, I was like, well, then let's try to write as much as we can in here that is either typical of where we live or fits the vibe. If we're going to go film some scary scene, let's write it to something we know we can get. We have all these old, just forts and, there's so much history around here. Everything feels old and creepy and awesome.
It's because it is.
Because it is.
Yeah, including the people all in this room right now.
Yeah, that's actually what my memoir is called.
That's right.
Old and creepy and just around here.
Old, creepy, and awesome.
That's right.
Should have gone up to Bancroft Towers in Worcester. That's not a nice place, but it's cool looking. It looks like it's an old castle or whatever, but it's not good. But no, it's pretty awesome. And being from Massachusetts, my whole life, there's still a lot of places I haven't checked out. So like, as I was watching, I'm like, I wonder where that is. I wonder where that was. Was that an apple orchard? Was that a this? Yep. Or, like all these different things. And it just, again, makes me realize that I'm a homebody sometimes. Like, I've never been to Salem. You filmed in Salem. I've never even like gone to Salem. And I live like an hour away. Yeah,
I think it's like if you live in New York City, you don't go to see the Statue of Liberty.
Right.
I mean, I never went to Salem until friends came to town, actually. So
that's actually what I have going on in a couple of weeks. Like, I haven't been in quite a long time, and they're like, "Oh, I want to go to Salem," and for a second I was like, "Why?"
But why?
Yeah. Why do you want to do that?
Yeah.
Everybody knows that the Bridgewater Triangle is where it's at. If you want to be real life spooky stuff.
Yeah. Or that time that when we first started hanging out, and there was that house that was decorated for Christmas year round, and you guys scared me and Matt Boynton with this house that was in the summertime decorated for Christmas. But anyways,
I don't remember that. But there's nothing about it that sounds unrealistic. So.
Right. No, I totally remember it. But so how did you Mikes meet? Like, how did you guys meet each other? Like, what made you gel, you guys?
Mike came on Trick or Treat Radio when it was funny.
Oh, I'm not here to bash anything.
Yeah, I'm not bashing anything.
Okay.
I just they just lost everything that was funny and new about movies.
So, anyways, and the great.
No, I love those guys. I still
Yeah.
have on my other jacket my Trick or Treat Radio pin, and it was awesome. Like I think it was. I don't remember if we did Drive-in Horrorshow and Infinite Santa, or we did Drive-in Horrorshow then Infinite Santa. But like I was like hooked. And then you lived pretty much in the neighborhood, so we just became friends. If I'm remembering that right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, in the family too. I mean, Jess, of course, and Jasper. You've known Jasper since he was really little.
Yeah, I love him. I was going to ask how you got famous filmmaker Jasper Neel, and if that makes you a Nepo baby.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to be riding his coattails. You should see him. He'll be at the premiere. He's in the movie.
Right.
And we filmed it when he was 7, and then the pandemic happened. We were supposed to have our big shoot at Hammond Castle on March 14th, 2020.
Right.
And we were just over halfway done. So then when we went back to film him, he was almost 9. And you can't tell in the movie, but in the days up right before the shoot, I would drop him off at summer camp, like day camp, and I'd lean over to the counter and be like, don't let him get a sunburn. Don't let him fall down. Don't let him knock out a tooth. Like, nothing. He can't do anything. Just don't.
He has to be 7 still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing that I find that I was curious about, because I have firsthand knowledge, is how much is there anything in the script that you had to like not do? Because I remember a shot that I was going to be in that got shut down twice or at least once because of weather.
Yes. Yes. And yeah, that's a really good question. That is one that so we were supposed to film. It was supposed to be you. Skip Shea was supposed to be in it. I can't remember, 1 or 2 other cool people. I honestly can't remember. And we're supposed to shoot it in December of 2019. And it was supposed to be like freezing rain, one of those like nasty. And it was near Christmas, and we knew better than to schedule around that anyway. We're like, screw, we have to get this. And then
right.
It was just fine.
And then there was a blizzard, right?
Yes.
Like, yep.
Yeah. But you know what's funny? So when the pandemic hit, we were just over halfway done, and then we were able to start again. It was like 2021, late spring, when people were, vaccinated and, or at least able to be safe, all that kind of stuff, and we were looking at all the scenes to do, and we looked at the one that you were supposed to be in, and we kept putting it off because we're like, we just have so much other stuff to do with stuff with special effects and a lot of, legwork. And then I'm talking to Joe one day, because we talked all the time. And I'm just like, do you think we need this scene? Can't we just do XXX and fill in the gap with the story instead? He's like, yes, please, let's do this. So we went back and filmed like 2 inserts that basically took care of all of what was supposed to be there. And what's interesting is, looking at it in retrospect, the scene that you were in would have been good, but the pacing's better without it.
Right.
Like,
I mean,
actually,
I'm like a contained virus right now too. So far, I've only ruined Skip Shea's movies.
I wouldn't say I've seen you in his movies. You're great. You're perfect.
So I totally understand. Like, that's actually, it's good that it happened, because in doing like, back when we were recording music in my band, the Deadites, when we'd have like guest artists and stuff like that, like, it was always a nightmare to say like, man, like, it's cool that he came in and played guitar, but I kind of think now that I've heard it with guitar, I like it better, like, without. So like that, like, I always feel like that conversation is like, so, I wish there was freezing rain on that day, but.
Oh yeah. That reminds me too, actually, like a lot of films that were made around 2019 into 2020, the pandemic affected all of them.
Yeah.
And for us, it wasn't just that Jasper was getting older, which thank God worked out fine. Although I had to buy the same costume twice because he got too big for it. You can't tell. You'll never know.
No.
But I put him in a little costume, and it looked like, like the sleeves were like up to here. I'm like, all right, well, this is... But one side effect was that when the pandemic hit, we had all these other shoots coming up, Bill and Kyle, who had shot pretty much everything, were starting to shoot the last of their stuff. We were starting to enter the special effects stuff that I was going to do with Joe and let them go off and do their own movies and give them huge thank yous for spending so much time with us. But then when we started up again, well, of course, they're also filmmakers and had tons of work to do. So it shifted. So I ended up shooting more of that. And it's funny because I'm credited with Bill as the director of photography, because technically, yes, it ended up being split in half. But as far as I'm concerned, I just kind of picked up the ball that he had. Like, if I put it this way, if I started doing it, it will look totally different. I shot it the way I did because of what they did.
Right.
Right. So that was one thing. And also, when the pandemic hit and we just had to stop, I bought myself a collection of all of Lovecraft's stories. And I decided, well, I'll read the Dream Cycle in order, because I'd never done it. You know, I'd read the stories kind of out of order. I'd read Celephaïs, I mean, a lot. I loved it. And I read them all over, and I looked at one of the scenes we hadn't filmed yet, and I was like, you know, we actually break the rules of the Dreamlands here. If you want to be really, really nerdy and picky, we technically shouldn't be doing this. So we rewrote it. And, you know, from all the stress from the pandemic and the lockdown, obviously, you know, made things difficult, but having that time was nice. And there was another scene that we rewrote that the thrust of the scene was the same, but we ended up rewriting some of the climax of it because we have more time. And we're like, well, because we wrote the original one so quickly, you know, like we need a whole bunch of dreams. What's this one? What's this one? What's this one? And then if we can't take it from the story, well, we'll just make something up, you know, and hope it fits. That was one. But the other really interesting thing is Chuck Schwager, who plays Karanis, who is amazing. He's such a find.
Great.
Yeah, he barely talks. I mean, one of our goals was to make this seem like an old movie. You know, all the effects are practical. All the compositing we did is digital, but it could have been done with matte paintings or forced perspective, all that stuff. You know, because it's anytime we didn't do it, it started to look weird. Like, all right, well, this is our aesthetic. But one interesting thing is that, you know, Karanis, his character is a very troubled, tragic person, and we hadn't filmed a lot of that stuff yet. And when we came back, when we were able to film again, there was a different element in his performance and the vibe on our shoot that I think really helped that. It's not that we wouldn't have done a great job before, but you could tell there's like a desperation there. And it was also some of the first creative stuff we'd done, you know, coming out of the lockdown. So the shoots themselves were really fun. I felt like we were able to really, I mean, we never had any problem connecting creatively anyway. I mean, it was, from the beginning, it was great. You know, we auditioned for Joe and I, and within about 5 seconds, he was like, all right, well, this guy's perfect. So that was interesting. Just like, you know, there's so many quotes about art being a life, you know, art and life being intertwined, you know, and it was nice to have something to do and something to look forward to. And yet I didn't want to cut anything like, or work on any special effects while the pandemic was going on and the lockdowns. I didn't want to jinx anything. You know, it's like, I don't want to do all this work and then someone gets like horribly sick or like, you know, just, I don't know, like you know, Nomar whapping his, you know, wrists and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, sort of superstition.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. So how long did this whole project take? Because I know we had met up at like with Bill and some other people, and we like hung out at that whatever that place was. I don't know.
Oh, well, Danvers, the insane asylum.
Yeah, that was already. So this project was already like going on during this time, right?
Yeah. So
wow.
It was supposed to be done in less than a year. When we wrote it in August of 2019, we were supposed to be done around August 2020, even earlier, you know. And we were making that deadline. It was nuts, but we were making it. And then the pandemic paused it, and we just got the final mix done March 3rd. So it's been actually done for a while. Like there's a version people could see that if we didn't tell them it was unmixed, they wouldn't have any idea. You know, it was just my mix from the computer. But, you know, the subtleties of bringing out the sound effects and all that stuff. I mean, the ones you guys watched is the final one.
Yeah.
But yeah, it ended up being way longer. And then of course there's a reality of like, some of the effect stuff, which were done by the guys from two of the guys from Drive-in Horrorshow. They did the effects. And also Jude Calora, who plays the girl who glues the guy to the tub in Drive-in Horrorshow. She's in Celephaïs. I can tell you who when we're off the air. You'll never know, but once you hear it, you're like, oh my God, yes, of course. And with the practical effects, like, we kept on scheduling stuff, and then like one of them would get sick. Something would happen. Like we must have postponed some of those shoots 5 times. And that's stuff that just wouldn't happen pre-pandemic. We would have just sucked it up and, taken some cold medicine or just screw it. We'll do it, but obviously we have to be careful. But
it was a real shot to a lot of artists like ours, almost work ethic, for lack of a better way to put it, because I've gone to shoots. I mean, I've wrestled with broken ribs. Like, now it was just a matter of that, like, now it's not about what I can take. It's also about getting someone else sick or worse.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially now that my son's involved, it's like,
right.
Oh God, I can't hurt him for this movie. He couldn't even get vaccinated when we did the second Castle shoot. That was when Delta was out and he was 9. So he wasn't,
Wow.
Yeah. So that was
all the little things. I know, like from like a horror or a movie fan, like I think a lot of things kind of picked up on the other sense, because there was a lot of like newer streaming services like Tubi and stuff like that kind of took off because no one had anything else to do other than sit around and watch movies, and they're like, all right, I've already seen everything I want to see on Netflix or whatever. Where do I go? And it's Tubi kind of took off because of that. And they actually they started doing some like original stuff now too, like Tubi original movies, and Tony Todd's in a couple of those.
Tony Todd's in one.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It was so funny with the streaming stuff too, because one of my best friends on earth, I consider him family. Trick or Treat. I wanted to punch him in his big giant nose. Trick or Treat Radio's Monster Zero. Like after like 2 years of me going, dude, you got to get Tubi. It's got all this stuff on it. You got to get Tubi. It's got all this stuff on it. During the pandemic, he's like, guys, I discovered this thing called Tubi. He was like a big giant hairless Columbus. Like he had like found this thing that had already been populated. But like, Tubi, by the way, which features Seeds by Skip Shea, which has me getting my head bashed in.
Oh, all right. I'm gonna have to go add that to my queue.
Yeah.
The one thing too is that, I mean, it's totally off subject of your project, but from what I understand, artists actually get paid, or directors and stuff like that actually get paid more off of Tubi than they do off of a lot of other streaming services, like Amazon, for example. Like, yeah, you don't have the Amazon name behind you, but there's a director of a movie. I'll mention it after we're done recording because it's offensive, and I don't know who's watching, but they're like, yeah, we're on Amazon for a pretty long while, and then we went to Tubi, and he's like, the first month I made more than I ever made the whole time I was on Amazon. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's
awesome. Great.
Yeah.
For a minute, Mike, if you haven't, I know about it because you were on with me and my buddies on Trick or Treat Radio, and we're friends in real life, and you might have mentioned it on another show with Kevin. But if anybody isn't listening, talk about you and Joe's relationship, because it really resonates with me, because as you know, like one of the things we bonded on that Tiny and I have a very similar relationship as far as like just always being a creative, always being some part of your creative endeavors forever.
Yeah. No, thanks for bringing that up. I mean, he came to me years ago to edit Veil of Blood, which actually that's something I can talk about. That's coming out this year. Do you guys
really?
Do you guys have DVDs of that? Did I ever give you any?
No.
It's a cult hit in Cambridge.
Nice.
There are people in Harvard Square that adore that movie, that play it on Halloween, play it year round. Joe brought it to me in a half-finished state. And when he asked me how much it would cost, I was like, I don't know how much money you have. I just gave him out a number, and he almost like choked on his drink. I was like, oh my God. But anyway, it's a very, very DIY backyard horror film. Mm-hmm. And it just kicked off a creative relationship that we have, like a real kinship, and a way of I mean, every relationship's different, right? It's like Greg and I have an awesome relationship that produced Infinite Santa and Drive-in Horrorshow. You know, for Greg and I, or Joe and I don't know, it's like a different, I guess because our tastes are different. Like Joe has a real taste in classic Hollywood film, you know, and experimental film. And like we both went to film school, and it's kind of like, well, it's like Skip Shea says, go break the rules because there aren't any rules.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think we really embraced that. And I think actually the timeless quality in Celephaïs and a lot of the art direction is 100% from Joe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's as well as like we planned the shots together, you know, for a lot of it, and then, you know, worked with Bill, of course. And then when it was just us, we just did it. But we both have a lot of love for old film, and you know, it's like one of those creative things. You work with someone creatively, you just see eye to eye with, you know, and we're like brothers, you know, like family,
Right.
you know, and we both love New England. Like that's something that's comes through in all of our work. Like we have an authentic, you know, Massachusetts, New England accent in Celephaïs. You know, popped out a couple times. It's Mima. The guy has a really thick Boston accent. It's awesome. It's like, this matters to us. You know, this is our home. So
it's not that big Hollywood pretending to be from Boston.
Yeah, come on,
it's
dude.
just like, come on. Yeah.
One thing that's really fascinated me, I don't know why it's hit me over the past. I think it has something to do with that Netflix, like, and all the streaming services have like really gone full gore into putting out Halloween content at Halloween time. Mm-hmm. The fact that like 90% of that stuff is set in New England, if not Massachusetts, and 0% of it is like filmed in Massachusetts, and it's just so crazy. Like,
or it's filmed in Massachusetts because of the tax cuts, and they say it's somewhere else.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I mean, it's like American Hustle. It's like, this is shitty old New Jersey.
That
you know.
Adam Sandler's Hubie Halloween, because I knew all those spots that they were standing in outside and everything, you know, like, and it's just so like it is like, I'd be hard pressed to imagine anywhere else. Like if you asked someone, say the, you know, state or part of the country that comes to mind when you say Halloween, that they're not going to say Massachusetts because of Salem and because of like the few great, you know, movies that, you know, were shot here, like Session 9. And a lot of friends that I have from other places are always asking me about, you know, Session 9 and where they shot like Shutter Island and stuff like that. Like, you know, this is where like the scary is, but for some reason, you know, I've seen a lot of palm trees in New England on film in my life.
Yeah. So, I couldn't agree more. And that's part of what we wanted to accomplish with this film, you know, and it's like Skip and I have talked about this, that we talked about when we were location scouting for Celephaïs. He helped me find a bunch of those locations too. Mm-hmm. So he was on a couple of the shoots. He was definitely a big part of at least the first half of this, you know, with Bill and Kyle, some of the more memorable ones, especially.
Yeah.
But we would talk about how, like, what I love about where we live is, you know, I drive 5 minutes, or I walk outside my door, no one's ever filmed there. You know, if I drive to one of your houses, I pass by, you know, 300 locations where no one's ever put down a camera, and it looks different and new. Right. You know, like New England is creepy and weird and also beautiful. Like there's a friend of mine I showed Celephaïs to. He's from Columbia, the country. Mm-hmm. And he said, so how did you find all those places? I was like, they're about an hour of my house. He's like, what? Like,
right. It's like crazy.
Yeah. Cause he's like, well, down here, everything just looks the same. So, you know, it's this huge untapped resource. I mean, you're so right, Mike.
It's outrageous. There's a place we filmed on Skip's new show, one of which I run by. Well, when I was running, now I might as well be in Celephaïs because I dream about running. But you know, when I would run by or I walk by to get candy, there's like a row of trees, and behind it there's like a bombed out like house or something with just a chimney left. Cool. Like I don't know how Skip found that, but it's like, you know, if they took down a bunch of trees, I could almost see it from my house. And then up the road, just past where my old comic shop was, like we filmed in an old like religious dormitory like that. is one of the scariest, coolest places I've ever been in my life. And it's just like, I drive by that to turn around 2 or 3 times a week. Like, and I had no idea, like, it's just off the road enough that you wouldn't see it. And like, it's just, I don't know, it's just so untapped. And like Kevin hit on, incidentally, like, it looks enough like any suburban place in, you know, the upper East Coast that it could be there. You know, you got the wharfs and stuff of, you could be in Maine or you could be in New Jersey. My neighborhood could be in New Jersey. You know, so like, it's like just a matter of like, I don't, you know, it's funny that New England just now is starting to like have a lot of bigger shows come in, and they're just all in Worcester, which has like 2 buildings in it that are more than
that are in every single movie now.
Yeah, I know. Right.
They're in every single major motion picture. Like, I mean, I watched some of the movies just because I'm like, I just want to see the places I know or whatever. And then I'm like, all right, now I'm bored. Yeah. It's like, hey, there's the comedy club that I like to go to is down those stairs.
Right.
All right. I'm done with Free Guy. Yeah. I have nothing else. Yeah.
There were Spider-Mans running outside the window of the law office that my special lady friend works at.
Oh, really? That's funny.
Yeah. Like, she's like, she didn't think anything of it because she hangs out with me, and there's obviously constantly assholes dressed her up like Spider-Man running around. But
no, that's pretty awesome though. Like, I mean, that's the cool thing. Like, I never see any of that stuff, but whatever. But that being said, we are at an hour. I know it went by quick. So I definitely want to thank Mars for sitting in. And before we go, I did want to, so Bill, our friend Bill Barry, made sure he wanted me to let you know that he wants you to eat yogurt and drink cream soda.
I knew it.
And then I told him that the only way that I would say it is if he replaced all of the photos of him that has ever been taken. Let me just see if I can find this. This is the picture I told him he needs to replace every photo of him that's ever been taken. I told him he needs to replace that. So everything that he's ever, his driver's license, everything.
It's an upgrade, so I'm sure he's excited. Yeah,
it is. But so I told you, and I'll help you beat him up next time. We see him.
He likes that too, so that don't fall into his trap.
That's true. Yeah. He's like, oh no, not that.
Yeah.
I've known Bill since we were 6. And
really.
I'm gonna go vomit now. All those things are things that make me nauseous. So
yeah. So that's the thing is, like, just real quick, like, you guys know each other through one way. I know Mike through another way, or Mars through another way, and I know you through another way. And it's just like that's the other thing that's cool with New England.
I know Bill separately from you originally, Kevin.
Really?
Yeah, because if we're talking about the same Bill, but the Deadites would play with Paco.
Yeah.
Before you were in Paco.
Yeah, before I was in Paco. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's
in
true.
fact, Kevin got into Paco because we stole their bass player.
And we'll end it on this, and then I'm gonna give you guys can give plugs and stuff. But we were playing at the Above Club one time, and Paco was playing. It was before the Deadites, and I'm playing like, what the hell is going on? And I look, and there's I believe Mike and Eric just detuning my bass as I'm playing it. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
The same time we almost Tiny loves to tell the story of one time that our singer Matrix walked up to him and goes, "You have to go get your children." And he was like, "What are you talking about?" And they pointed outside of the Above Club, and Eric and I had got those big giant type masks that you get, like the ones that like are huge. Mm-hmm. And we were directing traffic, like stopping traffic in front of the.
Those were the good old days. We may not
have had a drinking problem.
Yeah.
Thank God Wolfie came in and cleaned us all up, because otherwise it would have been
Yeah. But anyways, so Mike, where can people go to check out your stuff? We never played the trailer for Drive-in Horrorshow, but the whole movie's available on YouTube right now.
Yes, it's on YouTube. It's also available on various VOD things. Our label never tells us, so check out your local VOD and see if you can find it.
The old mom and pop VODs that are out there.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. Yeah. one of those VOD vending machines.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get some smoke clear at it.
You know what? One thing I wanted to say to Mike when I got cut off, and I'm sorry, Kevin, to ruin the flow of your show, but at least
there's no flow.
At least I didn't make one of your hosts leave this time. You don't worry about releasing it, because I've become obsessed with like the late 80s, early 2000s, like during that, I think it was like a technologies boom where Japan was putting out all those OVAs. And I had looked at that as just like anime stuff. But I recently found out that people were putting out like 45-minute, 25-minute, like bigger, putting all their small budget into like 35 minutes to make it more of a budget, like science fiction and horror movies and all that stuff. So like, I think the world, like, after sitting through, not up complaining, but like 6 hours of movie of, going to the movies over a couple of days. I think there's a place for visual entertainment of all times, like, so, I would say as a content creator, don't worry. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't think twice. It's not about the length. It's about obviously the quality, but like the buy-in is, how interested people are seeing it, I believe now, because I feel like film fans are as excited for a 3-hour, 4-hour movie. I'm as excited for the new, I forget his name, the new movie that the guy from Hereditary did, which is like a whole day long, as I was to watch a short. So like, I think that don't be afraid to like, charge people for it, because like, I think there's a place for smaller media now. And I think streaming allows that. It's like the Wild West. There are, like in music and comics and movies and everything, there is a downside to streaming. Nobody yet has figured out how anybody's really getting paid yet, or how it works.
There's more downside than that. Like, so that he was talking about putting out a Blu-ray, which would have other stuff. Like, you don't get a lot of the extra stuff when it comes to streaming. Some places you may, but it's very rare. So that's why, like, I'm a collector, you're a collector, and that's the thing is, I would have zero problem buying a Blu-ray from you. Especially if it's loaded.
100% too. Like, there, and that's the thing too. Like Kevin said, like the physical collectors. Like, I remember one of the first things that like we were talking about was when Drive-in Horror Film was like on DVD. I was like, but I want a Blu-ray. Yeah. So like, the video collectors will we'll get it. And the people who are into Lovecraft or film, they'll, whether it's 35 hours or 35 minutes, they'll jump in it. It's the Wild West now. It's like the punk rock movement in a good way. The streaming services and YouTube has demonetized people being able to make film and put out things. It's a lot like the direct-to-video movement of the the 90s. So just put it out, man. Put it out and charge it, and like the I guarantee you it'll do good, because it's an intriguing thing. And I don't worry about the length. That's what I've told a lot of people for the last 30 years.
If it was too long, it may not have been as good as it was. You know what I mean? Like, so you pointed out, like, there's only, you don't want to make it a feature because it's gonna take away from it. So it's like, in my opinion, it's like the perfect length.
Right. That's what I've been telling people since the prom. So
the girth, on the other hand, length is perfect.
Yeah, it's the perfect length.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, I couldn't agree more, man. That's what I've seen in my career. I think the time is absolutely right, for that. And for us too, it's like, the goal of this is obviously financial, but the bigger thing is getting it out there, introducing people to our work that haven't seen it before, reconnecting with fans that already love us, and using this to make another film. We have 4 other scripts ready to go. We could do other Lovecraft if we wanted to. There are so many filmmakers and resources here. You guys know there's tons of filmmakers in the area, tons in all genres. So
I don't know any of them except for you.
Well, there's me, and there's another me back there. Hold on, I'll put it is a mustache. It's like me, but he has a mustache.
Oh yeah. On top of the mustache,
Yeah,
exactly. I direct messaged 3 great filmmakers just so they knew that, if they usually wait to watch Kevin's show or whatever, just so they would come check out, the Mike and Mike connection live tonight. So that's like
the tag team, Mike and Mike.
Yeah, that's like crazy to me. Like, how, like, I mean, I know we both know a lot of great filmmakers in different places, but just like the fact that there are like just incredible filmmakers just here, and everybody is so connected and stuff like that, and everybody is so excited about what everybody does. It really, in all the mediums that I have been in, the New England filmmaking scene is the best and by far the less toxic. You know, so it's amazing.
Yeah, I've never seen it like this. I've been making films since 2000 locally, and in the last 6-7 years, it's exploded. And like the quality and the difference of approaches and subject matter and genres. Like we think about horror a lot, but there's all sorts of stuff going on. I mean, I think the dam's going to burst at some point. Obviously, I hope it's our film, it's their film. But like, I mean, just go to Mass Independent next week, and I'm going all week for one because my movie is playing. But aside from that, just go and see all of the local films that are there, and those are just the ones that qualified this year. You know, those are the ones that haven't been shown there before. Or go to Shauna Shea in the fall. Like, I go in part just to see friends, and I always meet new filmmakers. I see people grow. You know, like I hope they see me grow over, you know, our careers. Like I saw you do this movie and now you're doing this and it's interesting and different. And, you know, I mean, I think it's almost like, you know, you hear about film scenes or music scenes in like Seattle, you know, during the early 90s, late 80s, you know, with grunge and Soundgarden and all those guys. It's like, everyone's like, oh my God, they're amazing. Where'd they come from? It's like, well, Soundgarden formed in 87. Like they've been doing this for a while. You just didn't know.
Right.
So people here have had a lot of time to get practicing and all that. I think really good things are happening. They already are on a smaller level. You're gonna start hearing from people in a big way, and it's gonna be one after another.
Right. Good. I agree. It's really great, and it's really, and again, I think not just as a filmmaker, Bill by Force and Kevin and the whole like Dorkening Network, and you know, it's funny, being on Kevin's show is probably the only show in the podcasting world that I would have been on if it wasn't for Trick or Treat Radio. So, you know, those guys are just like out there every week, trying to get people to see other podcasts and other films. And the same as like Kevin, you know, is like totally devoted to like, letting people know about the, you know, the yous, me, Skips and Andreas of the world, all over the United States and world that are out there doing it. So like, I think there's just this great symbiotic relationship that's brewed for the last 10 years that's ready to like, as you put it, you know, break out.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah. And for people like me, I'm a fan, so I'm passionate about what I like, so I pushed on as many people as I possibly can. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, but I'm gonna still do it and be like, oh, you didn't like it, you're wrong anyways. So is there any your mustache?
The bottom of my stash was in my drink.
Oh,
nice.
Gross.
Gulp. So is there anywhere where they could follow like your production company, or specifically if they want to know more about what's going on?
Yes. So we are everyone connects in different ways, of course. Dream Apex Pictures, which is the company Joe and I have that is doing Celephaïs. We're on Twitter, Dream Apex Pics. We are also on Facebook. It's probably /Dream Apex Pictures. I mean, just look it up. There's no one else called us.
The Twitter handle's in the show notes as well. Whether or not you're watching or if you're listening next week, it's all there.
The Tweeter.
So, Tweeter. Yeah. So that's the best place to follow what's going on with you guys.
Yep, and also Instagram, my own personal Instagram. Everyone has different things. All the filmmakers locally are Facebook. Everyone else is Instagram. So
I was shocked that I wasn't following you on Instagram. I assumed I already was.
Same.
I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, I'm not following Mike. I'm like, I don't know. This is anyways. But what about you, Mars? Do you have anything that you want people to go check out?
I do right now. I feel like this show happened about 3 weeks away from when I like am comfortable talking about anything that's going on, including stuff that you know, probably involves you, Kevin. But I do a weekly blog called Transmissions from Mars. It's probably right now I'm doing a lot because I made a little goal for myself for my birthday month, but it's updated at least 3 times a week with music reviews, movie reviews, wrestling reviews. Really gimmicky because I'm not a great writer. Like I'll do 13 things about this or, you know, whatever else. But you know, I have essays called Madman's Mutterings that are just like, you know, total run-on sentences and bad thoughts about everything. I just posted one today about John Wick Chapter 4. Kevin and I are both in a band named the Deadites that are like trying to figure out how to get our shit together post-pandemic and what a band in 2023 actually does. You can find that on, at the Deadites, thedeadites.com, everywhere. And if I can just give another plug, first of all, because like I said, I wouldn't be in films. No one would be interested in my comics or my blog without them. Please check out Trick or Treat Radio. They're live every Thursday. They really have been, along with the stuff that Kevin does, at the front line of direct to video horror and low budget, like in independent filmmaking, like really leading the charge in them. And those guys have been doing it for,
forever,
a million years. Yeah.
No,
So
it's a show that I mention a lot. Like I bring it up to people all the time when we talk about like podcasts and stuff like that. Like, what do you check out? Do you whatever? And like I bring that up. Like I'll be at a con with a booth for the Dorkening Podcast Network, and I'll bring up Trick or Treat Radio, which is not part of the network.
And Monster Zero and Johnny Wolfenstein are two of the best human beings on earth, and they really, really, really couldn't be more sincere, in their want to put over different horror and different creators. So so check them out, and also check out my friends over at the Cult of Muscle. That's an amazing podcast. We talked about Bill by Force. Outside the Cinema is one of the reasons that like this podcast community exists. All the shows on the Dorkening Network, Patsy and Ash's shows, and I would be remiss if I didn't. I've been doing a re-listen of the complete Talk Without Rhythm podcast. I can't mention everybody because there's a lot of great podcasts in this community, but those are the ones who sleep at my house when they're in town. So please check out all those shows. Check out everything that Mike Neel has done. I owe all of the interest that anyone has in all of my projects that I'm selling books and paying the electric bill, which it's not a lot, but it's something that wouldn't happen without the support of people like you, Kevin, and Trick or Treat Radio, and all the great creators I work with, like Skip Shea and Mike and everyone else. So and thank you for having me tonight, Kevin.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's as soon as I've heard you say multiple times how much you love Mike Neel. So I was like, hey, Mike Neel's coming on. You want in? And he's like, yes, I do.
I printed a picture on my wall of me, Jasper, and his director of the year from the Shauna Shea Film Festival that I'm waiting for a framed copy to come back. So Mike is family, and I love him. And anytime I have a chance to work with him,
I was so excited when Kevin texted me. I was like, no way! Especially things have been so busy and crazy, and I was like, oh, fabulous. So Jess is jealous. She said hi. So did Jasper.
The reason that Kevin is here to do this podcast is because I messed up his last year of high school by making him leave school to come see movies. So
he didn't make me. It was my choice. But that being said, for myself, you can just find me A-Knuckle on Instagram. Also, besides doing this show, I'm also part of Black and White Fright with Bill and Scott, and that's the show that he made Scott leave. He made him sign off. Yeah. It was like, we've never seen this before. It was crazy. And then I'm also...
What's amazing is that for all the times I've actually been an asshole in front of a microphone, I'm still not sure how I upset him.
Right. Yeah. I don't know how we upset him either, but I'm like, okay, he's upset. Okay. And then I'm also part of That Strange Show now, which is also on the Dorkening Podcast Network. And that's a fun one. It comes out, I think, a couple times a month. I'm new to the show. So I was just recently asked to join. So it's a good time though. So go check out all that stuff there. Go check out these guys and all their awesome. And thanks for watching /listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye.